Hey everyone, welcome to this workshop, How to Find Your Style in Art. So I'm going to tell you something. If you are struggling right now with the meaning of your art and you just really want to create art that means something that's going to affect people, you know that you have something to say and you want your voice to be heard, then this workshop is for you. If you kind of are feeling tired of bouncing around from one style to the next and it's not feeling fulfilling and your art is just feeling like, you're wandering and you're seeking, then this workshop is for you. If you have been wondering for years and years, what is your style? And you've tried all kinds of different styles and you've tried so many styles, maybe you have kind of lost grip on what your style could be because you've tried so many styles, then this workshop is for you. And even if you're sitting there wondering, maybe I don't have a style, everybody else has a style, but I don't. I know that at one point I started to feel that way. I looked around and I saw a lot of artists that knew their style, but I didn't feel like I knew mine. And I was just creating all this art to pay the bills, but it really wasn't my voice. And I wondered if I even had a voice. Then this workshop is for you because I believe everybody has a voice. Mm-hmm. Everybody has something to say. And, you are no different. So it's just a matter of knowing the tools and the tricks to being able to understand what your voice is and how to identify it. And how to develop your style of art from that. And so we're going to talk about all that today. But first, I want to do some quick introductions. They're going to be really quick because introductions are boring, and we don't want to bore you. So my name is Ellie Milan. I'm the founder of Milan Art Institute, and I've been a professional artist for 30 years. So that's my intro.
My name is Dimmitra Milan. This is my mom. And I've been a professional artist for the last 10 years, since I was 15. And yeah, I'm really excited for this workshop today. It's going to be super great. And I know that you guys are going to leave feeling really inspired.
And also we have here Jake Dunn, who is Dimmitra's husband. And he's also one of the owners of Milan Art Institute. Say hi, Jake.
I forgot to unmute myself. What's up, beautiful creatives of the world? I'm so excited for this because I know myself that finding your style is just one of those things that creates peace and excitement and joy in your creative process. So if you're excited to finally enjoy the creative process again, then this is the right live workshop for you.
Yeah, and so we have a live chat under this video, and we highly recommend that you engage in that chat. We'll be answering your questions along the way. At the end, we'll have a Q&A, and Jake will be answering your questions also as we go. And feel free to introduce yourself on there, say hi, tell us where you're watching from. You can tell us, a little intro about yourself. So we recommend that you engage with the chat and feel free to write anytime in there. Okay, let's get started.
So yeah, let's get into the workshop. We have a lot of things, a lot of different topics we're going to cover. And so really this goes to, you're probably here because your goal is to grow as an artist and have a direction for yourself in your art, even your career, and start selling more art. So all of this ties back into you finding your style, and it's just a really crucial part, we believe, as an artist. So in this workshop, we're going to go through the benefits of finding your style, different challenges that we encounter, and then we're going to talk about the difference between voice and style, and how you guys can find a path to start envisioning and creating your own style.
Yeah, great. And really finding your style is really about self-discovery. It's a beautiful journey and an adventure. And I meet a lot of women, a lot of artists that I work with that are, older. I'm 51, so if you've had kids, you've raised kids, maybe you've had a husband or a career, there's a lot of things you've done and you've spent a big part of your life spending yourself for others and, helping your kids along or your husband or your spouse. And it's been a while since you've looked at yourself. It's been a while since you've, had any introspection or you've, engaged with that sort of self-discovery. I know in my teenage years and when I was 20, it was all about that. It seemed like we'd get together with friends and you'd do all those like psychoanalysis games and you'd, analyze each other. And so self-discovery was like, a big thing. But then after you kind of get going in life, you lose track of that. And so I think a big part of rediscovering who you are will play into you finding your style. So if that's you and you've been through a career or whatever, this is your opportunity for that. And I'm super excited for you. And if you are 20 or in your late teens or something, then you're already sort of probably in this journey of self-discovery. And this will really coincide with what you're already doing and give you some tools to find your style.
So these are the major benefits of finding your style. And I've seen some videos out there of, this one girl on YouTube. I can't remember her name exactly, but she was...
We probably don't want to say her name.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But she...
Go watch this terrible person.
No, I don't want to talk bad about her. But she was just basically saying, like, and a lot of people do have this fear that when you find a style, you're locked into it, you're put in a box. And she was saying that, like, that's the worst thing for emerging artists to get themselves into, like, one style that they're stuck in. And we don't see it that way at all. We think that, of course, it depends on your goals. But if you're here in this workshop, then your goals are probably right here. This is what you want. You want to get more confident. You want to achieve recognition so that people really recognize your art and start to, that's how you start to influence and really get farther in your career. Boost art sales and create art that really touches people on a deep level. And I think that comes when you are consistent and you stick with something long enough that you really learn how to do it in a deep way. And you're not just, trying all these different techniques and like diversifying too much that you're not sticking with something that it so deeply and so well. So we believe you can be even more creative when you do stick with a style, and that will evolve over time. We're always evolving as artists.
Yeah.
Like both of us, we're still evolving. We're not just arrived, and but we still have a very consistent style that people recognize.
And, a lot of artists, I think, maybe resist this idea of being locked into a certain style because it feels like, oh, my creativity will be stifled and I want to explore and I want to, try all kinds of new things. And there's definitely always time for discovery and trying new things and experimentation. That's a huge part of the creative process.
Totally, yeah.
But all the while as it serves your style. And I think of it as like, what would life be like if you just had like thousands of like superficial lovers, right? It's like, you don't get very far in the relationship. But if you stay married to somebody, you see those older couples where they're married for like 80 years or something. And well, maybe not 80 years, but a long time. And
30 plus years.
Yeah. And they, I've been married a long time. Is it 30 years yet? It's close to 30 years. And, it's like you really get to know the person year after year after year and you go deep. And it's the same thing with your creativity. You aren't locked in. You're not boxed into just, one boring thing. It evolves. And in that evolution, as it evolves, just like a relationship evolves, you go so deep. And that's really where you get that incredible artwork. And so that is really the benefits of finding your style is it will make you the very best artist you can be.
So, we wanted to ask you guys, like in the chat, what are some challenges you're facing right now? We feel like these here on the screen are probably the top 4, 5 challenges that everyone faces, and we continue to face. This is like a cycle that you go through. So not having a consistent process, maybe you're not painting enough, maybe you just really struggle with self-doubt and thinking you're not good enough, you don't have enough talent, and talent is a lie. And then maybe you're just, not lacking the skills to really execute that vision that you have in your head to get that out on the canvas. So yeah, let us know in the chat, which challenges do you face? Maybe your top one, or maybe it's all of them.
Of all the artists I meet, I hear they struggle with painting enough. Most artists I know just really struggle with that. And there's all kinds of resistance to getting them in the studio and spending time behind the paintbrush. And a lot of artists don't want to evolve. As soon as it gets difficult, or they get stuck, or it starts to feel uncomfortable, they stop painting for a while and then they try something new. And that's kind of that lover analogy. They just go on to a new lover instead of working it out with their current lover and going deeper into it. And that's where the breakthroughs happen, when you persist in that and stay consistent. So consistent work ethic of continually working at your art will help you, really paint more. But these are very common things. It's things we've dealt with again and again.
And not painting enough leads to all these other problems. Like, that is the root issue, I think.
Yeah. Okay, so knowing yourself, that is a big part of finding your style, is really getting to know yourself. So I touched on that earlier about this journey of self-discovery. So how do you want to get to know yourself? How does somebody get to know themselves? It's understanding yourself psychologically. How do you think? What do you generally think about? What is your pattern of thoughts? What is your pattern of behavior and reactions? Why do you react the way you do to certain things? What triggers you? What triggers your emotions? So your sort of psychological makeup and how you think and your patterns of thought, I think, are a big part, or one way of getting to know yourself. Obviously, your emotions and our thoughts lead to our emotions a lot of times. Artists tend to be emotional, and emotions are great. Emotions aren't something to shy away from, but to lean into and understand, why are you feeling what you're feeling? What's at the root of those feelings? And a lot of times things are very spiritual. I know artists often talk about their spiritual lives. So, understanding, what do you believe? What are you open to? What questions do you have spiritually? What is unresolved for you? What is your spiritual history, right? From the way you grew up and maybe things you didn't like. Was there ever spirituality sort of forced upon you? Did you react to it? There's so many things in there that affect us, and they'll affect our thoughts, and they'll affect our emotions. Another way of knowing yourself is thinking back to your memories and your experiences. What sort of memories can you think about, even from when you were a child, and patterns of memories? I think Dimmitra is going to touch on that a little bit later, and so will I. A lot of times our ethnicity, our culture, we're there's so many different cultural, diversities that are out there. And, I grew up with a Greek father who, was born and raised in Greece and came to this country in his college years. And that definitely affected the way I think, the way, some things I believe about myself, or some things some struggles I had to overcome. So my ethnicity and some cultural things definitely have affected my art, right? Because it's inside of me. Some pain that you have felt in your life, could be trauma, could be just, times that you got your feelings hurt. It could be a pattern of pain. Some people who struggle with rejection, that seems to be a pattern that shows up over and over again, where they feel rejected. So I think pain patterns and and painful things that you experienced that you overcame. Those are all going to be a big part of who you are, and it's going to influence your style. Family, relationships, friendships, how you deal with them, what are they like, their influences on you, core beliefs, what is in your very inner core of what you believe and what you value, what you find worthy. That's going to play even into your aesthetic, meaning what you find beautiful. So we're going to talk about that in a bit. And your edge, everybody has an edge. What is your unfair disadvantage? What is your unfair advantage? Not disadvantage.
Not your disadvantage.
Not your disadvantage. What is your unfair advantage? Maybe even your unfair disadvantage. Some people, we have those as well.
Yeah.
That might play into the pain and overcoming the pain. But all these things are a way to really get to know yourself.
So this is just a quote we really love by Picasso. Inspiration exists, but it has to find you working. And so this goes back to what we mentioned earlier about not painting enough. Like when you're in your studio working hard and just creating, the inspiration will be flowing. It will come. And so sometimes the hardest resistance you're facing is just getting yourself in there to paint. And eventually, after several hours, putting the time into your craft, you're going to start seeing a style emerge. So it really just takes time and dedication. And the more time you put into it, the faster it'll come. But we believe everyone has a style within them. Mm-hmm. This is also a really great book. If you haven't read it already, Steal Like an Artist. And this, I think, for me, the biggest realization reading that was the idea that you have to be so original to have your own style, and it's just not true. No one is really original. It doesn't really exist. That comes from, all our ideas are derived from past ideas or a mixture of things. So you see something that inspires you and you kind of like hang on to that, and then you grab something from somewhere else. So you're stealing all these different components that inspire you to create something really special and unique that seems original, but it's not. It's coming from all these different areas. So that book really opened up a lot, and yeah, we recommend you guys read that.
Yeah, and so really this journey of discovering your voice and developing your style from that, your artistic style, is something that you can work on. We actually have a 10-week course within the Mastery program, one of our main programs that we teach at the school, where we delve into this, and we go through all kinds of prompts and different things for you to unravel and look at and discover about yourself. We talk about archetypes, archetypal journeys and behaviors. We talk about different temperaments and how those affect your painting style and your painting process. We talk about we use all kinds of different tools to develop what are your personal symbols, what are the themes that you want to paint in. So there's a whole process that we've really mastered over the years, because we've been teaching artists this for more than 10 years, how to find their style. And we've really perfected this to be almost like a science. And, we really haven't experienced anybody that, number one, doesn't have a style and can't find it. So everybody has a voice, everybody has a style, and it's already existing. It's already there inside of you. It's just a matter of unmasking it, uncovering it, identifying it. So that is the exciting part. This is my husband, John. He is also an artist, and we started the school together in 2010, and we got our start right out of college and started painting in the decor market. And so we didn't have a style. We didn't even know to look for a style. We were just kind of all over the place, painting what sold, because we had children, and bills to pay, and we were completely unemployable. We just, were artists, and we were selling our artwork. But it was really for the decor market, and it was in lots of different styles. So this is kind of an example of that. And after a while, though, we had that kind of empty, frustrated feeling like there's got to be more to this. It just kind of felt like we were painting for dollars. And not that there's anything wrong with that, but it just felt like it was just endless couch art, and we were always watching what are the trends and what are the colors, and what are people wanting today, and sort of creating things that people want versus creating something from inside of us that spoke and had a voice and had poetry and could grip somebody's heart and make them feel something, which is what we wanted. That's really what we wanted. And so we were feeling restless, and we didn't know what to do with ourselves. So we just packed up the whole family. We had 3 kids at the time. Dimmitra was 5 years old. And then we had a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, and we went to Greece. And the point of going to Greece is, it's where my dad's from, and my family is there, and I love Greece. To me, Greece symbolizes like personal freedom. It's where I went as a teenager, and I felt free for one of the first times in my life. So it felt like if I went to Greece, I'd find myself, and I'd figure out what my voice is, or find the answer to this sort of angst that we were feeling. And so we went on this big adventure, and we went to Greece, and then, it was just sort of one hardship after the other. And a lot of our dealers that we were working with that were selling our decorative art had kind of dried up, and we were facing some difficult times. While we went there to get inspiration, it became harder to actually pay the bills with our old art. So we had this pressure. And so there was this dealer in Canada that we wanted to work with, and he sold artwork to galleries and more collectible art and higher end art. And he had always wanted us to create abstracts, but we didn't know how to paint abstracts. And we always painted representational art. So we were in this big, huge frustration, like a crisis, like an actual creative crisis, and impending financial crisis. And so we were kind of in desperate times. And
I remember like not eating very good, eating Cheetos for breakfast.
Yeah, and well, remember we had to we found coins in our couch one day, and we went and bought the biggest hot dog we could find, and we split it with all you kids. I don't know if you remember that.
I don't remember that specifically, but yeah, I just remember it being difficult. Like even as a 5-year-old, having that feeling like, ooh, we can't really eat good right now.
Yeah. So anyway, we were really struggling, and Dimmitra came into the studio one day and asked if she could paint. And this was like a common thing. And I gave her my acrylic palette, and I told her, because there was all these bad paintings on the floor, just bombs, just paintings, experiments. And I said, grab any one of those paintings you see on the floor, and go ahead and paint. So she chose this painting that was this guy looking out at the ocean, at the sea. That was a really bad painting. And she chose that one, and she just started painting on it, this abstract painting. And I stopped her after, maybe 10, 15 minutes of painting, and I was like, whoa, that is incredible. And I took a picture of her painting, and I sent it to this dealer. And I wrote an email, and I said, what do you think of my new art? And he wrote back right away and said, this is great. I can totally sell these. If you send me 20 pieces just like this, I'll buy them from you, and I'll start putting them in galleries. And I thought, oh my gosh, this is our answer. Like, now we can eat. But the problem was I didn't make the painting.
Like, here, paint some more.
So we tried to get Dimmitra to paint, and and, sat her down on the floor, gave her some paints, and she couldn't pull it off again. So I was like, okay, I'm a professional artist. I can do this. I'll just copy her painting. And once I've copied it, I'll know, how to do it. So I tried copying her painting and I couldn't really do it. So John, my husband, says, pass it here. I'll work on it. So he starts painting on it. And then I was like, no, you're messing it up. Give it back. So then I paint on it and he's like, oh, what are you doing? Give it to me. So we went back and forth, back and forth. And then finally, between the two of us, we were able to copy our 5-year-old's artwork. So we had two that looked real similar. And so after a while, we got a process down where I would start them and John would finish them. And we created all 20 pieces. We sent them to the dealer. He loved them. He bought every single one of them. And that really got us started in this collaboration. And so if you want to see the piece, this is the piece here that Dimmitra created. And that's her at 5 years old on the floor, working on some other stuff.
Drawing.
And that's what got us going in this collaborative style. And so this is the artwork you see here that came out of that style. And it opened the door to abstract art. It's like...
And collaborating together. From that point on, that's what you guys did.
We just always collaborated at that point. And we found our style together. So this was our collaborative style that we found together. And it's the only time up to this point that I knew what it felt like to have an actual style or something you were recognized for. And our sales went through the roof. It was a huge difference. We didn't have a mediocre, income anymore. Our income tripled at least. And we were, one of the top sellers at New York Art Expo for several years in a row. We were in tons of different galleries. I mean, there was a lot of success that came from this, and it's really because we found our style. And here is just how the style evolves. So you're not boxed in to paint the same thing for the rest of your life. Your style does evolve. And so this is how it's evolving, and into some more imagery, and, more pieces like this.
Mixing abstract with realism.
Right.
Yeah. So I'll share a little bit on my story. And yeah, everything changes when you find your style. It's just such a freeing feeling. I started painting when they opened the school, and I was like 11, 12, and I just really got into painting. I just loved it. And I was taking all these different art classes. So here's some of my work from the time. And I loved painting horses. My parents were doing a lot of horses at the time, and I was just really influenced by what I saw around me. So I pulled from them, and I was told, I was just constantly told that my art looked like my parents.
Which is ironic.
At like 12 and 13, I'm like, I hated hearing that. But yeah.
You should have told people that you're not copying us, we're just copying you. Because you were 5 and we copied your painting. So
we went back and forth, but so that was my art. But I had this like longing, and I decided from like 13 years old that I wanted to do art as my career. Like that is what I was passionate about. Just wanted to pursue that. My parents were artists. I saw them do it and be successful. So there's no doubt in my mind that I couldn't do it and kind of follow their footsteps. So I started, this slide is helpful, but anyway, I went into this portfolio class.
It's like Steal Like an Artist. You started to look at other influences.
Yeah. So I got into, she was teaching a portfolio class at the time. We didn't have the mastery program yet. And this portfolio class was basically a boot camp where I really had to just paint a ton. And just by painting multiple paintings per week, I had to finish 4 completed paintings each week, and then getting it critiqued. Then we were going to, at the end of, I think, 8 weeks, we'd find our style. So I did this class 3 times. And every class, she really encouraged us to look at other artists and get inspired and have like multiple artists that you're looking at, not just 1 or 2, but like 10. If you could find your favorite 10 artists, and then what about those styles and what could you implement? So this artist, Anka Schofield, really inspired me. I just loved how quirky her stuff was, mixing animals, people. And so I started, and then I was like really into this movie, Moonrise Kingdom, and I thought this girl looked just like her. And I just started thinking about what animals do I like, and just started combining them with portraits. And as soon as I put those things together, I felt it like deep inside, like this is me. And I just knew like that's what I had to pursue. So these are probably the first 3 paintings where I really felt myself and I had something unique. And I kept developing that over the next few classes and over a year and a half. I kept painting and my style kept changing and evolving. And eventually, I believe these were just acrylics. Eventually, I started learning oils, and I started mixing mixed media with oil, and I kind of had my own process together that really, like a solid process I kept repeating over and over. So I had my first gallery show when I was 15, and that piece behind me sold, and a couple others, and it was just like the first real art show that I had, and it was successful. I was selling at gallery prices, and it just really, really boosted my confidence. And I had this article done, and a publisher in Hawaii saw it, contacted me, and wanted to start working with me. And so then I started working.
And do you think that would have happened if you hadn't found your style and you were jumping all over the place with
definitely
the
not
birdhouses and then the horses and
no, like they saw this underwater painting and they saw my women with animals and they latched onto that idea and they're like, this could sell, and that's what stood out to them. So definitely having that consistency and cohesiveness proved that I was not just a frivolous artist. Like I was serious about what I was doing, and I had a style together. So they knew that they could keep selling that. So I worked with this publisher, and they really put me to work. And I had to create 6 to 8 paintings every single month. So I was painting full time at the age of 15, and they started putting my work in galleries, started making prints, limited editions. And I had to kind of adapt my style a little bit to Hawaii because they were based in Hawaii and they had all these connections there. And so that's where I started. Eventually it grew to the rest of the US, but this is kind of like where my start happened. And so I was just really inspired by Hawaiian themes and had to kind of put together this cohesive look that was inspired by Hawaii. And after a while, I was kind of feeling like I don't want to talk negative about it, but I was just kind of
like it wasn't 100% authentic.
Yeah, like I was just kind of in this mode of painting, and it was just getting a little bit tiresome, and I wanted to explore more. I knew I had more inside me to share, and so
you felt like your voice wanted to evolve, but the publisher, you were kind of stuck in this like Hawaii zone of, what
doing
he was
the
selling
shows
to
there.
his particular market.
Yeah, exactly. So then I don't know, kind of just like insisted, like started painting some things on the side that I really was excited about, but still kind of using Hawaii a little bit, like with the whales here in this painting. And then there's like kind of like the beach scene incorporated with the horse painting. And I started to really feel myself again. And like this excited me. Like I was doing something that felt me. And so in the first year working with the publishers, they sold over $1 million retail of my art in galleries. And this was purely just galleries. So I was just feeling super, like kind of just on this wheel. Like I was just going and going, and And their only idea for growth for me, like the only idea that they had to just grow my career, was somehow put more art in more galleries. And they were really locked into this old system of galleries. And they weren't open to selling on social media or a website. They just worked with galleries. That's all they knew. So I found myself at this crossroads, like trying to decide if I want to continue down that path, if I really believed in that, because at the same time, my social media just really started to take off. And a lot of things kind of like went viral, and I was getting tons of messages from people and emails on how they could buy my work, and I had no answers for them because I would direct them to the publishers, and they basically go cold and just, it wouldn't go into a sale. So I knew that I had to make it this hard decision and go out on my own and start self-representing, because I really believed that the future in art is a combination of all these different, ways to sell art. It's not just galleries. So since then, I've made so much more money on my own selling my art. And the majority of my sales have happened through my website and social media. And this all goes back to having this consistent voice and style, and really
and
staying
being able
consistent.
to explore your true style
and
and go
into
deep into it.
go into the depths of it. So,
and then relay this authentic story. That's the other great thing. A lot of artists struggle with, what do you post on social media? What do I say? What do I actually post? But when you know your style and you know your voice and what your art is really about, and it's this deep journey that once you were able to be free and kind of on your own, you were able to really explore, then you get to share that on social media. You share that with your audience, and they're kind of a part of your story. They're a part of your journey with it. And you do that really beautifully today, with as you're going through things, as you're making these, revelations and discoveries about, what your art is speaking. Because our art doesn't just speak to us, right? Your art speaks to the world, and it'll speak to you, but it'll also speak to the viewer. And that's the beauty of art. It's this multi-dimensional voice that can be saying a lot of things to a lot of different people. And it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, definitely. So, this is some of my art today, more recent art.
Of how your style has evolved. And
because our style is always evolving and changing, and we're always growing.
About the time as Dimmitra's, I'm right there with her as she's going through this incredible journey. 15 years old, she's discovered, the beginnings of her voice, and then it kind of gets sort of waylaid into this, with the publishers and this work. And then I see her kind of go out on her own, and I'm teaching all these other artists how to find their voice. I started to think but I want to find my voice, not just my voice with my husband, not just this collaborative voice. And I understood the mechanics of it. I could teach it to other people, but I myself hadn't really found my own unique voice with just me. And it started to become this yearning. And Dimmitra, your story and watching your growth and you evolve like that, almost made me feel jealous, not of you, but just of the experience. Like, I want that for me. Because it was so fun to watch her develop and grow. So as I was starting a new year teaching the mastery program, my husband and I were talking about this of maybe we want to explore not collaborating anymore and kind of going in our own directions. And so John decided he was going to take the mastery program, and through the mastery program, which is funny, right? Because he's a professional artist for all these years and he's going to go back to art school. I mean, that didn't make a lot of sense, but it did, because he could really start from the foundations and perfect some skills that maybe he wasn't utilizing, and go through all those prompts and find his voice. So I'm watching my husband finding his voice. And so then I'd really had it. I'm like, I'm finding my voice. That's it. I'm doing this. So as I was teaching the mastery program, I was kind of going through it as well. And I remember this painting. It sort of kind of came out of nowhere, and it was starting to happen on the canvas, and I hated it. And I looked at the beginnings of it, and it was so ugly. And I was painting my daughter with this goose, and it looked illustrative, like, and it was so bad. And I know, I mean, I've made bad paintings before, right? I mean, we all make bad paintings, and it's not a big deal, right? It's just like, oh, okay, I made a bad painting. But this one, I was like crying. I was throwing things in the studio. I was coming unglued. Nobody could talk to me for like a week. And I knew I was super triggered, and this was out of the ordinary. And I thought, what is happening to me? And then I started to realize, wow, this is like what I tell other people can happen, as you're looking and finding your voice. So I knew I had to push through. I couldn't let this go. I couldn't stop when it was uncomfortable. And pick up something else, take on a new lover, right? I had to see it through. I had to stick it out. So I did, and I pushed through, and a lot of tears, a lot of frustration, a lot of thrown brushes. I finished the painting. And honestly, I don't love the painting. I don't feel like this is the most outstanding painting I've ever made, but I finished it. And what happened after that was the next painting. And that was the breakthrough. That painting is what got me through to the breakthrough. And what I realized as I was creating this painting, I made this abstract, and then all I could see was a Pegasus in it. And I thought, I'm not going to paint. First, I'm painting this goofy goose with this girl and stars and light bugs. Like that's so childish and fairy tale. And now I'm going to paint a Pegasus. Like, who's going to buy a Pegasus? That's so childish and fantasy like. And I was like, why am I doing this? But I couldn't unsee it. I just kept seeing this Pegasus, and I had to finish it. And that painting actually came very easy to me. I was just able to do it very simply. And I actually liked the outcome. And as I was finishing the painting, it all came together, and I could see that I had all this mythology inside of me, because when I was a little girl, I used to sit on my dad's lap, and he would tell me all about, the Olympians and the Greek gods and just Greek mythology. He would just tell me story after story, and it was like my time with my dad. And I treasured it, and I would imagine myself riding Pegasus and running my fingers through the stars, and I was there, and he would tell me that I was Greek. And so when he told me I was Greek, I thought, I'm related to these people. These are my people. And it just felt just so a part of me. And I guess I suppressed it all those years, and it wasn't anything I ever explored, and it just came out of me. And because it came from that desire of really wanting to find my voice. And so I'm glad I was able to recognize it and have this sort of revelation as I was painting. And sort of with it, around that time, I was sort of going through another level of forgiveness towards my dad. So remember in the beginning, I was talking about, the pain that we overcome oftentimes is a big part of our artwork. And, my dad wasn't always, the greatest dad. And he was hard to be around sometimes, and he's Greek, and he would, tell me, boys are better than girls. And, I don't know, he's Greek, what can you say? And so, there was some things there that, like every child, I'm sure you've had to, forgive me for things, and, I'm sure I've caused you pain. I mean, every parent does. So, so I had to go through another level of forgiveness for my dad. And so embracing that mythology, embracing that time I had with him, sitting on his lap, hearing these stories, was a huge part of that. And it was a big breakthrough for me in me discovering my own voice outside of my collaboration voice. And then, I fully have leaned into that mythology, and it's grown and it's evolved, and it continues to evolve. We're both, just like you guys, in our process of evolving in our voice. And so, I imagine it'll keep going.
Oh yeah, for sure.
So, and then just so you can see also my husband, he found his voice in the mastery program, and this is some of the artwork he created right here. And it's very quirky. It's very different. Both of our styles very different than what we created together, and very, very different from each other. So this is sort of a side by side to see how very different they are, yet how we got our start was in a combination.
So cool. So now we're going to really explain the difference between like style and voice, because we've been mentioning both and they're similar and they go together, but we just want to differentiate that. So style is your aesthetic, your taste, and process combined.
And we're going to go through each of those too.
Yeah. And so your voice is like that feeling that the painting gives you. It's the deeper meaning behind it. Kind of like what you're saying through your art, but I feel like it's more like when people look at it, they get this feeling, and that has to be consistent, and that's always going to be there, but your style is just like how you express that voice. And it's your purpose and your message. So a lot of like that inner work that you do, like, all things she was mentioning, like the pains and overcoming and all those personal stories, that's kind of going to be condensed into one message and voice that is always going to be there inside you. So your style evolves, but I feel like your voice kind of stays the same. Would you agree on that? Mm-hmm. And then, so style is your personal aesthetic. So that is what you find beautiful. And everyone has a unique perspective on this. Everyone finds, it's your perspective. It's we can't tell you it's wrong. It's like what you find beautiful.
Yeah, beauty, like they say, is in the eye of the beholder. So we all have this imprint on us from our experiences, the way we grew up, the things we've been exposed to. And so those things combined become your personal aesthetic, and it's already there inside of you.
Mm-hmm. Drink some water.
I'm going to drink some coconut water.
And then your taste is like the preferences you have, experiences, what you enjoy. We're going to talk more about that in depth, but like what's around you, like how, I think about it in a major way is like how you decorate your home, or, it's your taste in like clothes, whatever, like that all kind of matters when it comes to creating your art. Mm-hmm. And then your process is also super important. The techniques that you like to use, how you execute your ideas. So style is all the visual parts.
Okay, so how your voice and style are related is your voice basically is your core message, the themes that you sort of the pattern of themes that you speak about. So in my artwork, the themes that come up over and over again, the voice that's in it has this sort of magical mystery, magical mystical sort of look to it. It feels otherworldly. It's not, sort of realistic subject matter, and it seems to speak to possibilities, destiny. So those are the themes that, and the voice behind it. But the style that it's in echoes that. There's always within the style, painting of light, painting of, sort of light coming out of darkness. So that is a stylistic expression that's in my artwork. Mm-hmm. Dimmitra's art, her voice is very, very dreamy, very beautiful, very experiential, something sensual. You feel all your senses sort of fired up when you look at her art. Looking at her art is actually an experience. Now her style echoes that, because when she paints, she loves to paint in drips and sort of see the paint move on the canvas. I've seen her when she paints flat, the ink is poured out and she's moving it with these big brushes and she's picking up the canvas, and she's in this kind of experience as she's doing it. And there's a recording of that. And then when we look at it, we experience. And so that's how her voice and what is at the core of who she is sort of translates into the style. So they're kind of intertwined.
Yeah, both are equally important. And in the mastery program, you learn both at the same time, so that you really uncover that personal story within you and like know how to translate that into your style.
Yeah.
So aesthetic is all these different things. It's what you find beautiful in the form, colors, rhythm, line, texture, light and contrast, the compositions and pattern. And then you'll start to see like a pattern within your aesthetic, and it'll all just kind of fit together. So learning what your aesthetic is so crucial to when you want to find your style. And we use Pinterest a lot and just create, different boards on like your taste and aesthetic. You can just start collecting beautiful images that will inspire you while painting, and just start, collecting color palettes. And if you love flowers, like what type of flowers, like get really specific about what it is that you find beautiful.
So this would be my aesthetic. This is what I find beautiful. When I look at this, it makes me feel really excited, really inspired. There's something inside my gut that just leaps like, oh, yes, and it just feels like me. And you can see in my artwork how that translates. My aesthetic naturally comes out in my choices. And I think that once you begin to sort of engage with your aesthetic and pay attention to the pattern of forms that you find beautiful, then it's like the more you look at it, behold it, experience it, touch it, think about it, the more it comes to the surface. It's like until you do that, it's sort of buried inside of you, quiet and dormant. But once you begin to really, touch it, like I said, then it comes out and you see it in everything that you do. That's
so true. Yeah. So this is, different pictures that really excite me and give me energy. And I love, all this style. And it kind of, echoes through my work. So the color I choose, the subject matter, it's a lot of flowers and insects and yeah. So now we want to talk about elevating our taste. So everyone can always get better with their taste. I don't know that like you arrive at a certain point, right? Like everyone kind of, we're always getting better with our taste. But this, I think, really helps when you want to start creating that really high-end art. And if you want to sell more and you want to attract those high-end buyers, then you got to elevate your taste.
And it's important to think about taste because, like, for example, if we go back here to, let's say my aesthetic, you can take this aesthetic and you can package it in a tacky taste.
That's
let's
true.
say.
Yeah.
And I could replicate this in a lower taste level, and then the art that kind of comes out, if my taste level is lower, then it's like appeals to a certain buyer with that taste level. But if I can elevate my taste to a level where that's where people are buying art. And this is a touchy subject. This irritates a lot of people. I mean, I might be irritating you right now, actually, because we don't like to think in terms of this. We like to think that there's no such thing as taste and we all have good taste. And the truth is that's not true. We all have bad taste. I have bad taste. You have bad taste. We all really have bad taste because you can always elevate your taste. And how you elevate your taste is by feasting your eyes on more, on other designs, other patterns, what else is out there. If you shop at Walmart and you eat at the Olive Garden and that's all you ever do, your taste level will stay at a certain level and not move beyond that.
Yeah.
And
your experiences really shape your taste. Like just going and traveling, seeing the world, going to new restaurants, like going and experiencing things, going on hikes, like being out in nature a lot, you're just going to like open your eyes and heart to like more inspiration.
And even, online, if you're not in a position to travel, you can travel online. You can see what is it like in other cultures? What are patterns looking like? What are forms like in other cultures? Looking at nature where you don't live. If you, I lived in the desert for 20 years, and there's an aesthetic there that I actually don't share. I don't share that aesthetic, but that's what was around me all the time. But online, I could go and see mountains and rivers and valleys and trees and greenery, right? So exploring things and feasting your eyes on lots of things will naturally expand your taste, elevate your taste, give yourself more dimension to your aesthetic. And that's really what you're after is rather than thinking of higher and lower, just think of fullness and dimension to it.
That's a good point.
That there's more to it than what you have right now.
Yeah, that's such a good point. So again, like educating your eyes, exposing yourself to different interiors. I think looking at interiors really helps you imagine like where your art's going to end up and where you want it to go. And it gives you like a vision for the future and like a direction. And just like these bouquets are a really good example. Like if you just say, okay, I want to paint flowers. I love flowers. Well, instead of just settling for like an easy bouquet of flowers that is everywhere, why don't you think of like go beyond that? Think of like a different composition or unique colors like the one on the left.
Okay, so now your process. That's the third sort of contribution to your style, right? So we covered voice. We covered aesthetic. And then we covered taste. And now this third part is your process. So your process is the art materials that you work with, could be the substrates that you work on, the order that you use these materials, your process for gathering and making sources, your process for getting inspiration, how you actually lay down the paint, and even where you struggle in the creative process. Everybody struggles in the creative process. Dimmitra says she struggles at the beginning of a painting, and I struggle in the middle of a painting. Some people struggle to finish painting. So, that's even a big part of your process and your voice of where that struggle happens. So, so your process is a real important piece of that, because if you paint with very little color, with a lot of natural materials, you use a lot of charcoal, it's going to have a certain look to it. If you like to use fluorescent spray paint and mixed media, it's going to have a whole nother look to it. And the type of person that would be drawn to raw, earthy, charcoal-y type of materials is a very different aesthetic-wise, temperament-wise, than somebody that gravitates to, the immediacy and the sort of violence of spray paint and the loudness of fluorescence. So, and neither is better than the other. It's just who you are and what you gravitate towards. So your materials and your process of painting is a big contributor to your style. And that is something that, I think that it is worth you putting time into developing your process. That might mean that you need to take art classes. That might mean that you have to expand your skill set. That might mean that you have to expose yourself to processes of working. Just because you have one way of working, it's the only way you know, that's just your default. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's your style. I know there was only one way I knew how to paint until I went to art school. And really, in art school, they taught me a little bit about different processes, but where I really discovered it was when I worked in the decor market and I tried all kinds of different processes. And now in our school, we teach every process under the sun that we can think of, because until you try different things, that's where the discovery part is so important. Trying all kinds of different materials, different techniques, different processes, so that you can arrive at, wow, this is my choice of how I want to work, and not just a default because that's all I know.
Yeah.
So that you're making your decisions from a position of strength instead of just, the only thing you're able to do. So,
yeah, so true.
Yeah. Okay. So
so part of your process might also be the imagery that you're painting. So you can think about what influences your themes. And this is all going back to your personal stories and background. So thinking about all these and combining that with your aesthetic, figuring out what kind of themes you want to paint. Also, I think a lot of times just going for it and just painting, like how she was doing when she was first discovering her style, she went with her gut, and it was scary. And it was like, why did I want to paint that? I don't know. Maybe you don't know the answer, but just go for it anyway. So you don't have to really think about this beforehand. You can start thinking about this a little bit later. But I think just getting in the studio, painting and putting in the time, it'll start to just kind of emerge out of you.
I think too, in terms of theme, a real great trick, stuff I tell students all the time is don't just settle for your first idea.
Yeah.
I call that the first bus stop. Your first idea is not usually the best idea. It's just the first idea. So if you're thinking like, okay, for example, just the last 2-3 days, I've been thinking about yellow and canaries. I'm just like, I want to really explore the color yellow. It's a color I rarely paint. It's not the most sellable color, but I love a challenge and I want to explore yellow. I'm thinking of doing a yellow painting.
Zion's favorite word.
That's true. It's my grandson's favorite word. Anything pertaining to art is yellow.
Yellow.
So, yeah. So maybe that's so interesting. So, yeah, I'm thinking about now. The first idea was I was thinking about canaries. Canaries are yellow, and canaries mean something to me personally. That's my first idea, is to paint canaries, to paint a whole bunch of canaries. But I'm not going to do that because I've learned after all these years, your first idea is the first bus stop. It would be very easy for me to go get a bunch of pictures of canaries and fill a canvas with canaries and paint a big yellow painting full of canaries. But I bet this idea has something deeper, something better in it, as I, explore it and maybe get to the fourth bus stop. So I have to ask myself a lot of questions, and I have to explore it aesthetically, and I have to push myself to imagine something besides a giant canvas full of canaries. What are the canaries doing? Are they in flight? Are they sitting? Are they standing? Are they, talking with each other? Maybe it's not canaries at all. What do the canaries represent to me? And how can I push that idea further? What else is yellow? So all these questions will help you move along in the idea. So that is really important when it comes to your themes. Just because you like tigers doesn't mean that you should just paint tigers. Why do you like tigers? What are the tigers doing? What is it about the tiger exactly? Is it what it means to you and what they represent? Is it visually why you like tigers? And push the idea. How can you turn up the volume? How can a tiger or yellow or whatever your idea is, if you turn up the volume, what does that look like? Mm-hmm. So I think it's really, really important to sit on an idea and, push it a bit and try to get further down the street to more bus stops.
Yeah. And then lastly, the personal symbol. So this is more specific imagery. So the themes are like reoccurring themes. Like I do women and animals with each other a lot of the time. So that's kind of like a reoccurring theme. But personal symbols are more specifically for myself. Lately, I'm really into bees, and I'm going to start beekeeping soon. So that's something that's really personal to me. That's also going to influence my art. And so just start finding those. You can even start a journal and like write these things down. And when something comes to mind, like just recording that. Maybe you dream a lot and there's certain symbols or things in your dreams that stand out to you. That could be something you incorporate in your art. But anytime you can make it personal, like, I don't know about canaries, but something like that, you want something personal and unique that you can share about, and that can be a story and like a symbol in your work.
Yeah, and these personal symbols, you'll have a whole library of them. There'll be a whole cache of personal symbols, and if you think about almost any symbol, you can find your personal connection to it. So, I mentioned canaries. They are a personal symbol of mine. I haven't painted them a lot, but it's definitely a personal symbol. And the story about a canary is one day when, I don't know, I guess the kids were like, still kids, and we were raising our family. My dad told me one day, "Oh, you artists, you're like canaries in the coal mine." And I was like, "What? What does that mean? What is a canary in a coal mine?" I had never heard the phrase. And he said, "Well, it was when the economy was slumping in like 2008, 2009. And he said, well, when the miners were trying to see if it was safe to go into the coal mine, they would let a canary go. And if the canary came back, that meant it was safe. But if the canary died, then they shouldn't go in. So you artists, you're just like the canaries in the coal mine. Whenever there's financial trouble, you're the first ones to die." I was like, that's a terrible thing to say to your daughter. It's like a terrible thing. Like, that's an awful thing. So to me, a bright yellow canary is like a symbol of victory. It's a symbol of like, those stinging type words. Like, that canary came out of the coal mine alive and well and flourishing, and the soot of those words didn't affect it. And so that's what canaries mean to me. But that's not what canaries mean to most people, right? Because they didn't have that experience. And that's the richness and fullness of a symbol. And even if it's a negative story like that, where words were hurtful, painting the other side of that pain, painting the side of that pain of like, I will live out my destiny and do what I'm designed to do, irregardless of what you say, irregardless of your words or your sooty words, right? So, our symbols can be sort of birthed in pain, but the overcoming is where they have their power. Yeah. And so, we all have just so many of these, a whole library of these.
And it's not just imagery, because what came to me was like drips. Like, that's a reoccurring symbol that I put in my work, like in every painting. Maybe it's a certain mark that you do. I know some people like to put like crowns in their painting. Like, there could be just a type of brushstroke or stamp or stencil or something that you use that's just kind of like a reoccurring thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I think that's the last or on process.
Mm-hmm. So finding your edge. So everybody has an edge or an unfair advantage. There's something unique and special about you that nobody else has this. And it's what makes you different from others. It's what makes you more capable in a certain area. It's what, maybe you're really funny. Maybe you are... had this really crazy, unique upbringing where you lived in 14 different countries. Everybody has something unique about them that they can bring into their art. it probably already is in your art. It's just a matter of recognizing it and tapping into it and leaning into it. So some ideas to jog your memory or your ideas about where your edge could be is, if you want to think about what makes you different than everybody else. You can even at some time, like you just wrote about it this week in your, she did a post this week, and she said, that she always felt sort of out of place. She always felt different. She always felt like she didn't quite fit in. She wanted to fit in, but didn't feel like she fit in. And she always felt like she had this label of, the goody two shoes. And then she realized later that that was her edge, right? That being a goody two shoes was your edge.
Yeah.
And so, and it's not like you have one edge, you have a bunch of edges. And identifying what your edges are, where did you feel like a round peg in a square hole? When did you feel, or I guess it's a square peg in a round hole? I don't know.
Yeah.
But when did you feel like you didn't quite fit in and there was something different about you? So identifying what those are is a real key, I think, to developing your style and pushing the envelope in your style.
Totally. Yeah.
So where have you stood out? Yeah, and your voice. Where have you stood out? What were you known for in school? And that could be something. Do you speak other languages? How are you unusual? So all these things, can really point to something that could bring something pretty profound to your voice and to your art.
Yeah.
Okay, so discovering your voice is this workshop, I think, is designed to really ignite something in you and prompt you to explore and really delve into this. And I think that a big key to really knowing your voice and being able to watch it evolve over time is accumulating skill, accumulating a lot of different processes where you can work in, knowing really how to draw, knowing really how to oil paint. Because if you don't have the freedom of expression happens when you've developed your skill. If your skill is pretty low and you can only paint in a certain way, and there's a lot of things you can't paint, and your drawing, is not that great, you're limited then in what you can say. So, imagine wanting to create amazing music, but you only know how to play the recorder, that you learned in the 3rd grade, and your voice is kind of squeaky. I mean, you're not going to get very far in creating amazing music.
That's a really good analogy.
You need skill. You need to learn and take some voice lessons, learn how to play the guitar, learn how to play the piano, learn how to compose, probably get some lessons and, how to, work with the digital stuff, right? So it's the same thing with art. And a lot of times I meet a lot of artists that are really good at realistic watercolor, and they can paint a realistic bird, a realistic flower, like in their sleep. I mean, they're so good at that, but they have no idea how to oil paint, and they don't know how to be expressive or work in an abstracted way, or mix a bunch of styles in an eclectic way, how to work with line, how to work with scale. Like there's just sort of this one way they know how to work. So I think, really developing as an artist and being able to really pursue this as a profession, you really need to develop those skills. So this is here, my friend Ritika. She is a graduate from the mastery program, and she basically, was in the same boat. She lives in India. And she was from an arranged marriage. She was told who she was to marry from the families, and she didn't have a whole lot of freedom of what she wanted to do. but she had big dreams, and there was a lot she wanted to do in her life and a lot of things she wanted to accomplish. And she had 2 daughters, and she wanted to demonstrate for her daughters that she can make her own choices, and she can be free, and she can pursue her own destiny. And she desperately wanted to be an artist. With all her heart, she wanted to be an artist. But in the environment that she lived in, it wasn't very conducive to that. It wasn't encouraged even. And so she really had to fight for it. And so before she took the program, this is her natural self-taught skills, what you're seeing right here. This is just by her having a dream and finding paint and finding time to work at it and creating art. And as you can see, I mean, like she's got something, right? So this is just her self-taught. And then she took the mastery program, and she started to learn how to put a painting together, how to oil paint, how to work in mixed media. And she discovered gold leaf. She had never even heard of gold leaf until she took the mastery program. And there was something about the gold leaf and working with the textures and working with modeling paste that felt ancient to her, like it was a part of her DNA. And when she would touch the gold and work with the gold leaf, she just came alive, and she just felt like there was something so profound in that. And it really became a strong part of her style. And she went through the whole program, went through all of the process of finding her voice, finding her style. She built a portfolio around that style. And then she graduated, and she started getting into all kinds of different shows. She went to Dubai. She had never left India, had never left her family, had never spent the night alone away from her family. And, pretty miraculously, as she went through the program and she was really developing, her family got behind her and was really encouraging her. And she was able to, for the first time, travel by herself and went to a whole nother country for an art show and did it by herself. And from where she comes from and who she was at the time, that was like a huge breakthrough, a huge accomplishment. And then she did another show in Korea, and then she's sold her artwork, and she's had lots of shows within India. So 5 years from when she graduated and when we first met, not when since she graduated, since she took the course, and since we met, this is her artwork today. And she has gotten into her first gallery here in the United States, and on opening night, I think she told me she sold 5 pieces.
That's so cool.
On her opening night. And as you can see, it's her style still, the style that she discovered in the mastery program, but it's evolved because she's worked at it and she's persisted in it. So just a really, and she's not unique or alone. There's tons of people that have gone through the mastery program and gone through that process of learning skill on a very deep level, learning how to draw, learning how to oil paint, learning how to work with mixed media, and discovering all these materials that they didn't even know existed, being set free because they have those skills, learning how to have that work ethic that you learn in the mastery program, where you do go to the studio and you paint all the time, and you've overcome that resistance that holds you down, overcoming the perfectionism that a lot of artists struggle with. And then getting to the point where you really find your style and you build this portfolio around it to where you can get out there and go in shows. Ritika also learned in the mastery program how to find how to brand herself, because it is really difficult for you to build a brand in order to market yourself, promote, and sell your artwork without you knowing your voice and your style.
Yeah.
You have to know your style and your voice in order to build your brand, your personal brand.
Yeah. And your brand built off of that recognition of your style. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it's so crucial to follow the steps, have the skills, find your style and voice, and then start promoting yourself. You can't just skip straight to the promoting if you don't have any of that to back it up.
Absolutely. And really, even your marketing strategy and the choices that you make within marketing have a lot to do with your voice, your style, who your audience is,
What your
who your
goals
ideal
are.
collector
Yeah.
is, and your goals, your lifestyle, so many things. So here is another graduate. Her name is Kim Lloyd, and this was her art when she just started Portfolio. So she had discovered her voice, discovered the themes that she wanted to paint in, but it was all brand new, it was all fresh, and she was going to build a portfolio around it. And after some critiques and, working with mentors and getting feedback with her artwork, which is offered in the mastery program, her style, as you can see, really evolved quickly and turned into something really beautiful.
And you can recognize like that is her brushstroke. Like I can see in all those paintings,
absolutely.
That's her style.
And even though the subject matter is, from zebras to ducks to women, you can see the way she handles the paint, the way that she puts down the paint is all very similar in her style. And then this is some of the artwork that she's doing today. And she is doing really well, selling a lot of artwork. And I just looked at her Instagram account, and when I mentored her for a little bit, and when I stopped mentoring her, she had, I think, like 500 followers. And I just looked, and she has over 11,000 followers
It's
today.
12,000.
12,000 followers. Yeah. And I just looked the other day, and it was 11,000. So she's doing really, really well. And great. So this is Pavlina. She lives in Switzerland, but she is from Czech Republic. And this was her struggling with sellability. And this was at the very beginning of Portfolio. She was still kind of working through her style and her voice and her process and needing to build a portfolio. And she was kind of like a little bit panicked because she was struggling with what she was doing. And then she had a breakthrough by just persisting, and not very far into Portfolio, she started to make these different discoveries about the themes that she wanted to paint in and how she wanted to paint. And after about midway through Portfolio, after she had done a bunch of different series of artwork in her style, she sold more than 20 pieces of art. But before that, she had not sold any. So
Crazy.
Yeah. So really finding her style was the main key to her selling her artwork.
And it gives you that confidence to just start like putting it out there, because a lot of people struggle with that, and no one's going to see your art. No one's going to buy it if you don't put it out there.
Right.
So just having that consistency and knowing like you found it, that gives you that confidence.
So this student, Tony, said that taking the mastery program has tremendously improved her skill and helped her connect with her true self as an artist. And I think that is very true. Many people that take the mastery program tell us it's absolutely life-changing because of this. They've really connected with their true self and discovered who they are and who they are as an artist. So this is Nicole, and she said, in just 1 year, I learned and grew so much. I now have a clear vision of what I want to achieve. Through the mastery program, I gained a lot of clarity. This is an incredible story. So this is Lamb, and she was a complete beginner. She really had no experience painting whatsoever, didn't know how to draw. And if you look at her artwork, it has this very cohesive look to it. The colors are cohesive, and her skills are incredible. And she learned all of that through the mastery program. And by learning those skills and really understanding how to paint, how to create form, it didn't limit her in her imagination. She was able to paint whatever subject matter that she wanted and have the skill to be able to do it. So this program has exceeded all my expectations. It brought me up from a complete beginner to now being able to produce as a professional artist. So, and then this is Andrea Jacobson. She has a huge following, and she was also a mastery program graduate, really found her voice in there, really learned how to market and sell and tap into storytelling. She's a really great storyteller. She writes very beautifully. She writes all these beautiful poems, and she writes about her artwork, and she shares about her whole process and her voice and what's important to her. And she paints a lot about women and what women deal with and about what's beautiful about women. So yeah, go check her out and follow her and look at her style and how she writes about, you know, what she's discovered about herself. It's really impressive and amazing, and she's doing incredible also.
Yeah. Very inspiring.
So we've talked a bit about the mastery program here and all that it has to offer. It's a fantastic, you can see here is the website. You can go check it out and read all about it. There's even on the website not a curriculum, what am I trying to say?
Syllabus?
A syllabus, where you can see all the different things that you would learn in there. And if you are serious about becoming a professional artist, that exploration of really knowing your voice, getting very deep into your creativity and your art practice, I highly recommend you take the mastery program. It is basically the best thing out there for you to develop your skill, find your voice, and be in position that if you want to sell your artwork, you can. And know how to do it, how to actually sell it. So the registration is not open right now. It will open September 1st. So you want to remember that September 1st is when you can join. So until then, I recommend that you join the wait list. And I think Jake will put a link in the chat for you to follow that. So get on the wait list, and you will be preparing to get ready to take this incredible program. You'll get all kinds of incredible content that will prepare you for it, show you how to set up your studio so that you can be successful right when registration opens. You'll be able to connect with coaches in the wait list and be able to ask questions with the coaches, because coaching is included in the mastery program. So you'll be able to attend an orientation call. So it's a really great place to be. I highly recommend you join the wait list if you are serious about taking the mastery program and really finding your style and your voice. But we want to answer your questions. So I'm sure there are a bunch of questions, and Jake will tell us what they are.
So a little bit ago, Caspa wanted to know, how doable is it to be a full-time artist after the mastery program?
It's super doable.
Very doable.
There's just countless examples of people that are doing that. And what I like to say, which I think is very freeing and very empowering, is that it's 100% up to you. It's not up to luck. It's not up to chance. It's not up to, talent, or are you good enough? 100% is your decision. If you want to be successful and become a full-time professional artist after the mastery program, you absolutely can if you just simply decide to, and are willing to back it up with the work. So it's working really hard and taking all the things that you've learned and applying it. Most of our students that make that decision and really want to do it are already succeeding before they even graduate. They're already selling their artwork before they graduate. Andrea Jacobson, that last person I showed you, she was already selling her artwork as she even started portfolio. And many of the students do that. So you are fully empowered to be as successful as you decide to be.
So Denise wanted to know, are there any specific assignments or extra steps required for graduation from the mastery program beyond completing all of the lessons?
It's to graduate, we take a look at your portfolio. You have to have at least 25 portfolio pieces completed. That doesn't count previous assignments. It's purely your portfolio, and we take a look at your website so that we know you've done all the branding, you've really implemented everything in the program, and, seeing your portfolio, you put the work in. And that's, I would say probably, what percentage you say graduate the first through, like first?
What percentage? I don't know. Jake probably knows that.
Okay. It's like probably 90 something percent where people they submit and they get accepted.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. And then some people have to go back and tweak some things.
Right. So
it's not like you're not going to graduate if you do the work. Like we will see that you have done it.
Yeah, absolutely. And even if you don't, let's say, pass or graduate the first time around, we tell you exactly what you need to do in order to graduate. And then you can go back and do those things and submit again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, next question. Dee wanted to know if there are deadlines. She works full time. So in terms of watching the lessons, etc.
Yeah. There's no, this program is designed for you to do it at your own pace. There's a recommended pace so that we've designed it so you can do it in 1 year, where it's 11 months in a few days. And there's breaks built into it. So that's how we've designed it. But so people could technically be behind on it, but there's no this is the deadline. You don't get that content anymore. You get to take it at your own pace.
Yeah,
we just recommend.
Some people take it really fast and take it in 6 months full time. Some people it takes a year. That was the pace that it was designed at. And some people take 2 or 3 years. So it's really up to you. There are no deadlines. You have complete ownership of this. This is your career. This is your goals, and this is your course. Mm-hmm. You have coaching for 2 years. So you have access to coaches and the coach group for 2 years. So most people can easily get it done in 2 years.
Yeah.
Timothy, a little while back, asked, so my style is a blend of tribal and biomechanical, but in the medium of pen and marker mostly. Would this be acceptable in the program?
Well, yes, absolutely. You can choose however you want, what materials you want to work in. But my feeling is that you will definitely expand and deepen this after you learn oil and acrylic and mixed media. Maybe markers will always be a part of your process. Maybe pen and ink. Like my husband's a perfect example. He was all about pen and ink and black pens and white paper. That is his love. But he creates, I showed you his work, but he creates these really beautiful, colorful, complicated oil paintings, but there is a layer in there of the pen and ink. And a lot of times he'll have a whole area that's just pen and ink combined with some of the oil painting. So it's 100% up to you, but the idea is to learn a lot of different skills, a lot of different ways, a lot of different processes and techniques so that then you can decide what you want to incorporate. So my feeling is what you're already doing now will definitely probably still be a part of what you continue to do, but I think it'll round out and deepen, and there'll be more things added to it.
Awesome. Okay.
I just wanted to add though that you might have different types of looks. Like we said, you're not stuck on this one process. You could have a whole paper line of drawings. If you're someone who just really loves drawings, and then you have some paintings that are on canvas that sell for thousands, you'll have different variety and different price points. So we teach all on that and how to have different bodies of work so you can appeal to different price points and different audiences.
But all within one cohesive style.
Yeah.
Michelle wants to know, is exhibiting at art fairs important or in the program? I've always shied away from this and would rather sell through galleries and online.
It's your choice. When you create your own personal marketing strategy, we expose you to all the different things that are, in the art world. Some are very traditional and some are, self-representation and everything in between. So you choose the route you want to take for you. But you have access to knowing how to do all of it.
And just because I come from the marketing side of things, I would say marketing is just like you'll find your style in marketing, just like you'll find your style in painting. It is an art form itself. It's an art form that you'll learn in the mastery program. And just like painting and creating art has all these different mediums, you have graphite, you have charcoal, you have water soluble charcoal, you have, oil paint, acrylics, all these different mediums that you can paint with. It's the same with marketing. Ultimately, you can create an amazing painting with just oils. Likewise, you can create an amazing marketing strategy with just social media. But when you're able to combine several of these different mediums together, you can create something that's truly a masterpiece that you couldn't if you were just using one medium. So that's what you'll learn in the mastery program. Okay. Next, Alera wanted to know, can I hire a mentor or do group mentoring after finishing the mastery program, or is this only available while you are in it?
Ooh, such a good question. And I'm excited to answer this. So you're not going to want a mentor after you graduate, because all of our graduates are invited to be a part of, but you have to graduate. If you didn't get your certificate, then you don't qualify. So once you have your certificate, and you can have a mentor all the way up until when you get your certificate. Once you have your certificate of graduation, then you are eligible to join SOPA. SOPA is Society of Professional Artists. So this is something that we are creating that is an incredible opportunity for artists, where you'll be able to connect with other artists that are really building their careers at all different levels. So it's a great networking opportunity. There will be actual opportunities offered to you, so in the form of contests where you can win money, to be a part of other shows, to get various types of commissions and work. Also, really amazing educational opportunities, workshops. We will have office hours where you'll be able to meet with our gallery director and bounce ideas off of him and ask questions. You'll be able to meet with our production director, where you can talk about, in social media, making your reels. Dimmitra and me and Jake and many of us will be in there with open office hours, where you'll be able to get all your questions answered. So it's an incredible place to be, SOPA, and that is offered to our graduates. And it's so that you can be a part of this all throughout your career and continue to grow as an artist and participate in all kinds of things and connect with all kinds of people, have access to opportunities you wouldn't normally have access to, learn things that would be hard for you to learn otherwise. So really fantastic. So it doesn't just end with the mastery program. We are here for you throughout your whole career.
And I just wanted to add too, because it was my idea, and I'm really excited about it too, is we're also going to be doing open office hours. So you'll get to connect with one of the different, any of our different team members, actually, at least once throughout the month. So I'll have an open office hours. Dimmitra will have one. Ellie will have one. It's going to be super exciting. Our social media manager is going to have an open office hours. I'm pumped about it. So anyways, okay, the next question is also from Alera. Great questions. Do you have to incorporate all the techniques in portfolio to graduate?
No, absolutely not.
Yeah.
That's the whole point of you finding your style.
You'll choose your own process. Like,
there's some people, their portfolio is like super stylized, and there's not even one trace of any, like they can do realism, but they chose to do something completely different. Some of our graduates just go into abstract. Some graduates go into just, black and white and very minimal color. So you definitely don't have to incorporate all the techniques.
we want you to find your style.
We want you to find your style,
Yeah.
your process, and work with the materials that you want to work with. But we direct you in how to get that in a sellable way. You can't, if you want a career, you can't just, I don't know.
There's some rules to it.
Yeah, there's
If
some
you want to
boundaries.
sell your art, yeah.
Yeah, to create sellable art. But you can always take almost any idea, any any way that you want to create art and direct it, in a way that it will sell.
So maybe we just need like one more question because we might be going over time.
Sunny Girl Wilberry wanted to know, when can I sign up for the mastery program?
So the mastery program opens September 1st. Get on the wait list because that will prepare you in everything that you need to know, everything you need to do, so that you can start successfully. Like I said, you can connect with coaches in there, get questions answered. You can join an orientation call. So as soon as registration opens, you'll get all your assignments and you can start. You'll already have your studio ready. You'll have your materials and your art supplies and everything ready to go. So September 1st, we're super excited. We're excited for you guys. And I just really want to encourage you guys. There is no better time than right now to be an artist, to really put out into the world messages and art that gives people hope, that inspires people, that shows people the future that we're going to live in. I believe that we are on the cusp of major art movement right now, and it's already starting. It's already flourishing. This is really the time of the artist. There's so many tools out there. There's so many things that we can tap into and we can get our hands on to make us successful, where you can really connect with the people that are buying your work, that are behind you, that are rallying for you, that love what you have to say, that are a part of your story. And so I'm so excited for you, and it's really an incredible opportunity. And we will see you in the mastery program. And we appreciate you guys being here with us today. We sure enjoyed it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
And we will see you soon.